aftermaths of Hurricanes Katrina and Rita back in 2005. Several factors are contributing to our situation, including unprecedented insured losses from the hurricane seasons of 2020 and 2021. Costs associated with inflation is making it worse. I just heard on the way in that inflation is now 6% year over year this month, which is an improvement over the 6.4% the previous month. The poor environment for the insurance market in Florida, where many Louisiana insurers also do business and frankly are domiciled and do the bulk of their business. Fortunately, Florida took substantial positive steps in 2022 to address their man-made crisis. Although Louisiana's insurance crisis is not man-made, there are several steps we can take to address it. Our first step, the Insure Louisiana Incentive Program, is why we're here today. I do want to take a moment to highlight this level of coordination and action among executive agencies and legislators of both parties, which is uncommon to say the least. Thanks to the strong leadership of Governor John Bel Edwards, Senate President Paige Cortez, House Speaker Clay Schexnayder, House Appropriations Chairman Zee Zarang, and of course, our House and Senate Insurance Committee chairs, Mike Huval, who's with us today, and Kirk Talbot. We were able, with their help, to pass $45 million in funding for the Insure Louisiana Incentive Program during a special session last month in an overwhelming bipartisan manner. It was absolutely vital to get this program running so we can provide relief to Louisiana residents facing the lack of options in the market and the major cost increases at Louisiana citizens, which is being forced to implement due to the rate increases, significant rate increases, due to the cost of reinsurance that they are compelled to buy for the over 100,000 policies now in that program. To address the insurance incentive program, the application period for the first round of the incentive program closed last Friday. As a reminder, $45 million was appropriated for the program by the legislature in the recent special session. For each dollar an insurance company receives through that program, they must match the grant dollar for dollar and then write $4 in new premium. Today, I can report that the round one application period was more than our hoped for success, as we received non-applications to participate in the program. The insurers collectively, those non-collectively, asked for a total of $62 million in grant money, which is $17 million more than is available. Chairman Talbot has agreed to author legislation. Well, actually, I should correct that. Chairman Huval has agreed to author legislation in the upcoming special session to appropriate additional funding to the incentive program so that we can take full advantage of the amount of new premium these companies are willing and able to write. The insurers that applied for grant funding are SafePoint Insurance Company asking for $10 million, Constitution Insurance Company asking for $10 million, Applied Underwriters asking for $10 million, Sure Choice Underwriters Reciprocal Exchange asking for $10 million, Cajun Underwriters Reciprocal Exchange asking for $5 million, Elevate Reciprocal Exchange asking for $5 million, Allied Trust Insurance Company asking for $6.5 million, the Gulf States Insurance Company asking for $3.6 million, and Safeport Insurance Company asking for $2 million. We've begun the process of reviewing the applications as they came in. We began the process as they were coming in, and we'll continue to do so over the coming days. Because of the complex nature of the program and strict standards insurers must meet to receive a grant, I do expect there will be several questions for these applicants to address before we can recommend them for approval to the Legislative Committee on the Budget at either this Friday's meeting or at a separate meeting in the near future. Once we receive approval from Joint Budget, We will be able to enter cooperative endeavor agreements with those companies and quickly issue funding to the approved ones. If all goes well, they should be able to begin writing new policies as soon as next month. I want to express my appreciation to these insurers for their willingness to enter our market at a time when our residents need their support the most. We look forward to working together in our efforts to make insurance available and affordable to homeowners across the state. At the time the incentive program bill was being considered last session, Louisiana Citizens was not in crisis. That is a year ago. While a few insurance companies had failed, most of those policies had been taken on by other insurers in a seamless, smooth transition that, frankly, most policyholders never really even realized had taken place. We did not have a worrying number of policies going into Citizens. Chairman Talbot filed the incentive program bill as a, quote, break glass in case of emergency, close quote, tool. At that time, there was no expectation of additional insurance company failures, but the program would be there in case more companies failed and Citizens became overloaded. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened shortly after the regular session, and the incentive program had been passed. I dare say, if I had to guess, it was unanimous in its passage through the process. Now that we're implementing it, I want to share more about the incentive program itself. It is modeled almost verbatim over the successful program launched in the aftermath of Katrina and Rita in 2005. That program offered matching grants to incentivize insurers to write new policies in our state and was instrumental in revitalizing our property insurance market, to the point that in the first year of its implementation, 40,000 policies were removed from Citizens to the 5 participating companies that received grants. Increasing the number of insurers doing business in Louisiana will give consumers more options, and the additional competition will stabilize rates. The insurers who participate will write policies in the area most affected by the policy cancellations, including taking policies off Citizens' book of business. I have an assurance from Richard Newberry, the CEO of Citizens, that he will immediately launch round 17 of depopulation, having just concluded round 16, the regular depopulation offering that Citizens by law has to offer as a minimum on an annual basis. The incentive program will award grants of between $2 and $10 million to each qualified company that applies and is permitted to participate. Companies can be new or already doing business here. I think Denise tells me that of the 9, 5 are here already, and 4, all but 1. Okay, 8 of the 9 are already doing business in our state. Those companies will provide 100% matching funds for the grant they receive, and the total new premium required to be written by each company is at least 2 times that combined amount. So assuming we use up all the funds, $45 million, it will be matched by $45 million of money put up in escrow by those companies applying for and receiving grants. They will then be required to write 2 times that $90 million or $180 million of new premium. And they will be required to stay on that premium for a minimum of 5 years, as was the case in each of those requirements in the first insurance incentive program following Katrina and Rita. Companies must stay, as I mentioned, on that coverage for a 5-year period of time. The participating companies will be subject to enhanced solvency monitoring, including but not limited to newly increased capital and surplus requirements, monthly reporting, in-depth reinsurance program reviews, and premium limits in each parish. At this time, I'd like to introduce and ask him to comment an instrumental and critical part of our success in the regular session a year ago to recreate the program, in the ask for the special session, that resulted in it being called and being successful in appropriating the $45 million that we have authorized up until now. That's Chairman Mike Huval of Iberia Parish, Chair of the House Insurance Committee. Mike?
Thank you, Commissioner. The incentive program is not designed to be a long-term fix. Although attracting several new companies to write insurance, homeowners insurance in our market will greatly benefit us in the long term. The program is critical to our state because the sooner we can distribute funds, the sooner policyholders can get out of Citizens. About 10,000 Citizens policyholders per month are experiencing premium increases required by law of 63% for residential policies and 76% for commercial policies. Reducing the number of policies in Citizens will reduce Citizens' cost for its reinsurance program that renews on June the 1st, the first day of hurricane season. I also want to point out that while coastal Louisiana is suffering more than other parts of Louisiana, the entire state will benefit from this incentive program. There are two reasons. Number one, the incentive program will attract more companies to the state, and while those companies will be required to write half their premium in the 37 GO-zone parishes, many will be interested in spreading their risk by writing across the state, which would increase competition and drive down rates. Number two, if Citizens runs out of money, all policyholders in the state are subject to paying off the assessments of funds in the shortfall. A stark reminder of this is that Louisiana policyholders still have 3 years of payments left on the $1 billion in bonds Citizens issued after Hurricane Katrina, not to mention $200 million in earlier assessment. Because the incentive program is mostly a short-term fix, Commissioner Donlin, Chairman Talbot, and I will be working closely together to propose several long-term fixes this session. Fortified homes. As Commissioner Donlin mentioned, we will be working together on several new bills this session aimed at strengthening our insurance market for the long term. We will release more information on the full package soon, but I wanted to speak about one of those major initiatives, the Louisiana Homes Program today, Fortified Home Program today. One of the best ways we can prepare for hurricanes is to use stronger materials and construction methods when building or modifying our homes. In 2022, I authored the bill establishing the Fortified Homes Program within the Department of Insurance. The program is based on a successful program Alabama has had for several years now. Under this program, Louisiana residents can apply for grants to retrofit their roofs using methods that meet or exceed the Fortified Home Standards of the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety. While homeowners will need to meet some eligibility requirements and pay for permits, inspections, and similar fees, the grant will cover the additional cost to retrofit roofs to the fortified standard in most cases. We are looking at other paths towards getting stronger roofs as many homes as possible, including legislation that would create premium discounts and policy endorsements that encourage building to the fortified roof standard. While Louisiana policyholders and those shopping for insurance wait for these new companies to begin writing soon, there are several things they can do to find the best price insurance available. Policyholders should contact multiple agents, including both captive and independent agents, to obtain as many quotes as possible for a new policy. Ask an agent to contact Citizens for a quote if you are unable to find a policy in the private market. If you do get a Citizens policy, continue shopping around for a new policy, as we can expect more insurers to begin writing this as the incentive program companies begin writing. If you cancel and rewrite your Citizens policy with a private company, Citizens will refund any unearned premium. Thank you, and thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mike. And I do want to take a moment to introduce the third party at the chairs up here, and that is my Chief of Staff, Denise Gardner, who has been the Chief of Staff for, I guess, as long as she's been both Chief Deputy and Chief of Staff, as long as I've been Commissioner, 17 years, back and forth. But in her earlier tenure here, she was Deputy Commissioner for Solvency. And in that role, back in 2008, she was tasked with drafting and implementing and monitoring the companies that took the incentive grants of the first insurance incentive program in the aftermath of Katrina and Rita. So with that background, she has again drafted the regulation that has now been promulgated and will be the roadmap for those participating in the program on what they must do to comply and to ultimately earn the grant that they receive. Those grant dollars, $10 million, can require 5 years of writing. We did 2 one-year extensions back then of that 5-year writing requirement so that companies could earn 20% per year of their $10 million in grant money by writing and staying on that coverage for each of the 5 years. So I just wanted to note a couple of other recent steps we took that in an effort to help those policyholders of UPC, another Florida-based company that was recently put into receivership by the Florida Commissioner of Insurance. Those policies are set to expire by law under Florida law on March 29th, the 30th day after the court, at the urging of the Florida Commissioner, put that company into liquidation. Some of these companies, in addition to that time period of March 29th, we in the recent Citizens Board meeting just last week extended that deadline by another 30 days to allow folks who can't get coverage to continue to shop for those additional 30 days. And if failing to get coverage in time for that cancellation, to get retroactive coverage from Citizens for that period. And as Chairman Hubal just mentioned, anyone that's forced into Citizens should continue to shop so that they can cancel their Citizens policy whenever they have the new coverage and get a refund of the unearned premium that they are compelled to pay. In addition to that benefit that Citizens is extending, the LDI here at the department, we also provided those grant, we added to the companies receiving grant money that they can retroactively take credit for writing whatever number of UPC policies they take from those folks facing forced cancellation on March 29th or 30 days after that. And several of at least one of the companies that have applied for grants have indicated in their application that they intend to take policies out of Citizens, which benefits not only those policyholders who won't be faced with that 63% rate increase on top of already by law the most expensive coverage available to property owners, which is Citizens. But in addition to getting that coverage in place at a much cheaper price from a private company, they will also get and have the right to get, and I'm sure will get with their agent's assistance, a refund of the unearned premium that they had to pay in advance to get coverage from Citizens. So with those things said, I just want to thank the chairman again. Mike's been a pleasure to work with. He was the lead author on the long-term fix that will be the focus of our efforts in the upcoming session, and that is Fortify Homes. He mentioned in his comments that it's really copied from Alabama program that's been up and running for 5 years now. Over 35,000 homes in the state of Alabama, which started the program in Baldwin and Mobile counties. It's now spread to Birmingham and Montgomery in the central part of the state. North Carolina has copied it before we did and has now over 6,000 homes built or retrofitted to Fortify standards, starting in their barrier islands on the coast and moving inland as well. So with those things said, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone might have. Questions? Okay. Do we have any online?
If all applicants meet the requirements, how many of the 9 would be accepted?
If all can I get you to comment on how we're going to do that? Thanks.
So if all 9 meet the qualifications for the program, we would like to see all 9 participate. So therefore we would pro rata the amounts that they would get. So they wouldn't receive the amount that they requested. They would get some pro rata share of that. So all 9 could participate in the program.
And let me add to that answer that with the bill that Chairman Hubal has offered to introduce as a supplemental appropriation bill, those who don't get the full amount that they were asking for when we got 61 million asked for and only 45 million available would be available to get the rest of what they asked, all 9, when given a haircut to fit under the $45 million limit, they would be available to get additional funding through that supplemental appropriation process. We don't know that. Someone did a back of the envelope calculation. It was you. You want to talk about your envelope?
Just right quick, I did a calculation, taking the 45 million grant, matching it with 45 million of the company's funds. To get to 90, they have to write 2 times that, which would be a total of $180 million in premium. I use Citizens average premium, which is around 4,500, I think at the time, and got around 38,000 policies. 40, yes, ma'am.
And at 60 million, what do we get?
Ooh.
Because we get 15 more million.
That's correct. So 15 would be 30. You'd have to write 60. 4 goes into 60. 1, 2, yeah. 4, yes, yeah.
40,000 plus another third of that. So 55,000 if we can get the supplemental appropriation process through. If we go from 40 to 55, roughly. Others?
Had a few questions for you. We put the list of 9 companies online, which will issue via press release. Another question we received was from Tim Dara at AM Best. He asked if we're disappointed that only of the 9 companies that have applied, only 1 is out of state.
No, we had no expectation going in as to how many would be from Louisiana. Actually, no, it's not correct. We have 3 domestics.
7 out of state, 2 domestic, and 1 is new. The other 8 are already licensed. I think that's what he's getting.
Okay.
Company.
Did you get that? All right.
When will the Fortify Group program hit?
When it's funded. We have the reg in place and the law in place, as I mentioned earlier, virtually verbatim to what is in place in Alabama and has been for 4 or 5 years. And we're in close communication with Alabama on how they laid out the rules in their reg and how it's being implemented for inspections and certificates of compliance, which are transferable, although renewable. I think they expire every 15 years and subject to renewal and also subject to transfer upon sale of the property. It's really a good buy for any property owner in Louisiana, but in particular in coastal Louisiana. Yes, that's in the law. As is, what's the requirement for domestics? 20%?
So 20% of the grant money
Yes.
was, segregated for domestic.
Yes. So, and we exceed in the ask,
Right now.
we're right at, okay.
Can, companies or individuals associated with companies that previously failed participate in the grant program?
No, sir. Companies nor the executives or directors of those companies are eligible.
What proof and where can the insured receive that their UPC coverage will be extended 30 days by citizens?
Citizens website, I would assume, or call your agent,
The department also issued a bulletin.
which is on our website. That's correct. Do you have the bulletin number?
I think it's 2023-02.
Bulletin number 2023-02. Sound right, David? Yes.
That was just notification from the department.
Okay.
Did a press release because citizens board voted to extend.
We did a press release? Okay. So there's a press release on our website issued last week, outlining what is available for those folks who can't get coverage before the deadline, court-imposed deadline of the 29th.
Are you concerned that by asking for $7 million more for the insured Louisiana SNP program, that it could take away from money the legislature may be willing to fund fortified program with?
Well, first off, it's not 7, it's 17 million more that we'll be asking for. And the fortified program is certainly the long-term solution to our problem. The incentive program is the firemen coming to the scene of the raging fire, trying to put out and douse the crisis, the ongoing crisis in the market. Literally thousands of homeowners in our state are faced with losing their homes because the only insurance they have available is the state-sponsored market of last resort, which is by law and appropriately so, priced above the private sector to keep the state from becoming the insurer for hurricane events.
For Mike Finch of the Advocate, how will financial ratings factor into which insurers are selected?
Denise?
So in HB1 that gave us the 45 million, Chairman Zarang had a requirement that companies had to have either an AM Best, B+, or Demotech A. So that's the requirements we're going to use for the application process.
And I think for our last question.
Wait, let me add something else. Those ratings that are imposed for the incentive program are the same ratings required by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac for federally backed home mortgages, which is 95% of the mortgage market nationwide.
Final question. If only one of the 9 companies that has applied for the program is new to Louisiana, how much is the program in net gain for our state?
It's a net gain in coverage available. That's what we're all about. We're not picking between, we don't distinguish between companies that are new to our state versus those that are continuing to write in determining who gets the benefit of the grant program. The real criteria and the real motive is to get companies, those already here and those new to our state, to write more and provide more coverage for our homeowners in our state at affordable rates, I might add. Did I see a hand? No? Well, if that's all we have, let me add that before we close today, I want to take a moment to announce that I will not seek re-election this fall. And I've made that decision for two reasons. The first is to remove politics from the vitally important upcoming legislative session, where many significant issues are affecting our state and the future of our state's property insurance market will be debated and hopefully decided to improve that market. The second reason is that I am obviously 78 years old and have spent almost 50 years serving the public of Louisiana. While very healthy and continuing to exercise, I want to enjoy the remaining years of my life with my family and hopefully some new hobbies. In closing, thank you I really mean thank you to the people of the state of Louisiana. It has been one of the greatest privileges, honors, and pleasures of my life to serve the people of our state in various roles. And I do just want to give back to them my assurance that they have gotten the best efforts that I have available on their behalf. Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, I don't have any. I bought a kayak and I tried it out once, but I'm looking forward to trying it again. Maybe even wet a line while floating around in the lagoon over in Gulf Shores, but I'm not going out in the Gulf with it. So thanks much. Appreciate it. Sabrina? I really don't think so. Who can tell? One thing that did play a factor in it is a statewide campaign takes a lot of time. And I haven't had any time since late last year to put toward my reelection effort. I did a fundraiser here in Baton Rouge right before the holidays, was very successful, encouraging and all that. And since then, I haven't been able to lift a finger toward my reelection campaign because of the time that this crisis has demanded of me and my staff. That's something else I need to say when I finish answering your question. But I can't say that it had no factor in my decision. But frankly, I'm also the longest serving insurance commissioner in the state's history, 17 years. I enjoy the job I have. But that other thing that I wanted to add is I enjoy working with the 225 people that we work with here at the Department of Insurance and have always found great satisfaction in the work that we do and in the collegiality that exists amongst our ranks. It's been a real pleasant experience over the past 17 years. So, but first, I really thought I could make a contribution by stepping out of the political arena as we go into the legislative session, where there will be debate and disagreement and heated debate and disagreement, I do anticipate, on many of the vital issues that are necessary to improve our market on a go forward basis. Yes, sir. I did. And I asked her last night, my wife said, no way. She not interested. I had her motto picked out. She's nicer than him. Everybody would agree with that, but not going to happen. No, seriously, I do not have a successor in mind or in place to take over. And if that's all, then I appreciate your being here and look forward to working with you for, what do we have, 9 more months, 10 more months, something like that. But they will be action-packed, I guarantee you. They usually are in this building, and even more so in the ongoing crisis. Thanks much.